We are in the election cycle, and we know many of you have questions and concerns. So we decided to bring in Ralph Mohr, the Erie County Republican Elections Commissioner, and Jeremy Zellner, the Erie County Democratic Elections Commissioner. This is about educating you, the voter. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us.
You're welcome.
We know that early voting starts on Saturday, October 26th. Election Day, as we mentioned, is November 5th, a big day. This year, all eyes are on the presidential race. Ralph, tell me, concerns.
Well, the presidential years are, of course, the year in which we have the greatest turnout and the longest lines that we have at the polling places and on early voting. We've taken a number of measures this year to cut down on lines and to make things run smoothly. Within the past month, everyone who is registered in Erie County should have received a card, which we call the Fast Pass. It's not necessary for an individual to bring that card to the polling location, but if they do, the inspector can scan the barcode and bypass the entire process of having to have your name read out loud and typed into the computer. They scan the barcode and your name would appear, and the process would move along to issuing the ballot.
Jeremy, let's talk about the process on Election Day. So many people have raised concerns and fears, things that we didn't hear about 10, 20 years ago, but now there are concerns. People will go to the polls, they will cast their ballots. How do you ensure that the person who is voting is truly registered to vote?
Well, we have trained our inspectors up to this point. We have a few more trainings to finish up, but our inspectors do this every year basically, and we work really hard to make sure that they follow the protocols, that they check that the voter is the person. We have new electronic poll books, so we no longer have the clunky books for people to write in, so we're checking that way as well. And we make sure that we keep our voter rolls clean in the county. We make sure that we send out postcard checks for those people who are deceased, that we get them back and they're removed from the rolls when they are. So then we have audits post-election to make sure that folks are voted properly as far as, you know, ballot counts and so forth go. We make sure every ballot is accounted for. There's a lot of things that are in place, to redundancies, to make sure that we're checking on all that stuff.
You mentioned something about dead people. We've heard in the past, that some people who are dead, they're voting. How do you ensure, Ralph, that the dead are not voting?
Well, the Erie County Board of Elections is very proactive on trying to go through the death rolls. We visit the city of Buffalo to get the death certificates of individuals who died within the city. We also go over to surrogate court, and if an estate is filed, we go and check there. In addition to that, the state of New York will send us lists from the Department of Health as to persons who have deceased in the county. So we take all of that into account, and the state has a procedure which we follow to go along and remove somebody from the voter rolls once we have notification. Of course, one of the best ways is if an individual from the family calls us when they receive the postcard. We have it on the postcard if the person's no longer residing at the address, to let us know. And we get a lot of public feedback from individuals telling us a family member has passed, and then we'll follow up and take that person off the voter rolls.
Has that ever been a concern in Erie County or the nearby counties that you know of, with people saying, you know, we have some votes and they came from people who are no longer here?
Not that I know of, Claudine, but again, we want to be careful. We don't want to just be taking people off the rolls from hearsay. As the commissioner said, we have lists that we get, but we also need the cooperation from the public. If you get that card back and someone has passed away in your family, follow the instructions on it, sign it, and get it back to us so that we can take care of the final steps there of removing the person from the ballot.
Let's talk about inspectors. Who are these inspectors? How many do you have, and how well trained are they?
Well, we've got, I think, 3,000 inspectors that'll be working on Election Day plus.
And that's just in Erie County?
Just in Erie County. And we are constantly looking for inspectors, and we have greeters at most of our sites helping folks get to where they need to be. A lot of retired folks, a lot of people who take the day off and see it as their civic duty, helping us out. And again, we're always looking for more inspectors. We pay them to get trained. We pay them to work the full day. And now that we have early voting for 9 days, that's more of an opportunity for someone to serve as well.
When people go to the polls, they're casting their ballot, but they encounter an issue on Election Day or maybe during early voting. what can they do?
Well, the most important thing is to remain at the poll site and give us a call at the Board of Elections.
So don't leave.
Don't leave. If we're able to handle the question, we can generally resolve the problem. Certainly if somebody is not appearing on the voter rolls, but they insist that they're registered to vote, the inspectors are trained to provide a provisional ballot, which the person will then vote, and instead of placing it in the voting tabulator, they'll place it in an envelope. That envelope will be sealed, come back to the Board of Elections, and we'll do the follow-through. So it's not only what occurs on Election Day, but there is a process which occurs after Election Day to verify individuals that may have a problem. But if the person leaves the polling location and calls someone other than the Board of Elections, calls the media, calls the Attorney General, calls someone else to try to make an issue out of it without calling the Board of Elections, it's much harder for us to resolve that issue. I don't think of any issue that we can't resolve on Election Day that a voter may have a problem if they call us from the polling location.
What about security at the polls? Do you have security there? Is that a concern?
Well,
especially this year?
We don't have security at the polls. We work with our state and local and federal law enforcement officials. Commissioner Mohr and I have been on calls weekly now with the FBI and the federal law enforcement officials to keep an eye on things. And so far, there haven't been any credible threats here in New York State. But we are in constant contact with them, with the Buffalo PD, and we are monitoring things, and they're just at a phone call away. There's been times in any election where we've had a disturbance at a site, whether it's folks, disagreeing with each other in a loud way, and we've had to call the authorities. Not a lot of times that has happened, but it has. And we don't really expect a lot of issues on Election Day. We generally we've had a terrific Election Day 4 years ago, 8 years ago, no serious problems. So we feel very secure in that sense.
What about long lines at the polls? Are we expecting that on Election Day, or are we expecting that during early voting?
Election Day, it's very rare that you'll see a long line or any kind of inordinate wait at the polling location. There are a number of polling locations throughout Erie County, and you're required to go to the poll place that is yours specifically assigned. On early voting during the pandemic in 2020, we've had long lines, and we were cognizant of that, and what Commissioner Zellner and I have done over the past 2-3 months is be very proactive in attempting to increase the number of stations that we have at those busiest places. And in addition to that, if you go to a location and you find that there's too long a line for you to wait, and when you're talking about the fast pass, we can check individuals in under a minute, so that line continually moves. You could also call the Board of Elections, and we have on real time, we're able to tell you what locations are very busy, what locations are not. And a lot of times the neighboring town or the neighboring location, which is probably the same distance as your location, is not busy.
And that's an important point that we want to emphasize is you can utilize any of the 38 sites across the county. It doesn't have to be the site for early voting that's closest to you. Mm-hmm. You can, if you live in the city of Buffalo and you want to take a trip to the suburbs, you can do that. Sometimes those lines might be longer at a location than it'll take you to drive out to Sardinia and vote from Tonawanda. You may get there and back quicker than someone who wants to wait. So that's really important that it's universal for early voting. But then on Election Day, you get back to your polling place.
Okay, Jeremy, polls close 9 p.m. The floor is yours. Walk me through what's going to be happening.
At the Board of Elections?
Yes.
Well, when the polls close, well, first, Commissioner Mohr and I have to upload the early votes and the absentee votes. Now we've changed the way that we do our election night reporting, so that, and then the state has made changes to the absentee vote counting. So we're actually getting those processed ahead of time, not counting them ahead of time, but getting them processed so that we're ready to upload them as quickly as possible right after 9 o'clock. Our staff is out collecting the chips to get them back to the board so that we can upload them as well. Our election night reporting software and systems have changed drastically in the last few years. We've been able to move a lot quicker based upon some changes that Commissioner Mohr and I have implemented with our staff. And so that's our goal right after 9 o'clock, is to move as quickly as we can to get the unofficial results. It's always an unofficial result until
Right.
the commissioner and I certify that result, which won't be for a couple weeks after we receive all of the military ballots and all the ballots from folks overseas as well.
Are the early votes counted first? Because I know sometimes you're out and you're hearing, oh, the early vote tabulation is in.
What we will do is both the Democrat and Republican will go out to the warehouse and we will pull the chips that are in the tabulators for the early vote tabulators. We will bring them back to the Board of Elections. They have them available to start running at 9 o'clock with the results. Nothing gets counted before 9 o'clock or reported before then. And in addition to that, as Commissioner Zellner said, we process the absentees, and we have we expect around 35,000 to 40,000 absentees to be in by that time on Election Day. And it's important also that the voting doesn't stop at the counting of the vote doesn't stop on election night. Persons who are overseas, persons on the other side of the country that postmark their absentee ballot, there are still 13 days for that ballot to arrive back at the Board of Elections to be counted. And both Commissioner Zellner and I will go over those ballots that come in to make sure that they were properly postmarked, that they were timely, and if so, we will add them to the count of the unofficial tally on election night.
What's the likelihood that we'll know winners election night?
Well, I think it depends on what the race is. Here locally,
We'll probably know.
Here locally, we've had some really close state legislative races in the last 4 or 6 years where we've had to wait for the absentees to come back. Now, with the process expedited where the absentees will be counted for the most part up till that point, we still could have some close races. But as far as the national stuff goes, we'll see. I think it's a toss-up right now, which could lead folks to believe that it could take a little while to find that out.
And because this is such a divided presidential race, are there security concerns? And is this something that you've talked about with your counterparts in Wyoming, Orleans, Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, even Niagara counties?
We have, I've spoken with other commissioners in other counties, and we've compared to make sure that a person doesn't cast a ballot in one county, then try to move to another county and cast a ballot as well. But it is also very important to note that the process is totally open. Commissioner Zellner referenced close races. We have had races decided by 1 vote, 5 votes, 12 votes in this county. And what we do is we invite the candidates, we invite their representatives to come and watch and observe everything that occurs. And we'll open up ballots in front of the individuals. We'll count the absentees. We'll do everything possible to make sure that the candidate is comfortable in what the process that we're doing, and also to recognize that the result that we announce and certify is fair and an accurate account.
And because voters are just on edge, they don't believe anything, they think things are fake or false, at least some, what are they saying to you all? What is it that they want to hear from you to know that their vote is being counted, that it is being safely looked at, that there's nothing wrong happening?
Well, I haven't heard a lot of skepticism personally, but we have a very transparent process at the Erie County Board of Elections. We have what's called the canvass that the commissioner was just talking about, where the public is invited if they'd like to come. The candidates are invited. It's, I think, already on our website, the dates and times and locations of our canvass and when we're going to open the machines afterward. So we have a very transparent process. Our website is spectacular, elections.erie.gov, where you can track your absentee ballot, you can check your status, your voter status, you can request an absentee and an early vote by mail ballot, and you can also look at your ballot. You can see what is going to be on the ballot to vote. So I feel like we get a lot of positive feedback for being transparent, and anyone is welcome to come down at any time. The commissioner mentioned, if you have a problem at a polling place, call us, 858-8891. And don't leave. And we have folks dispatched all day long to early voting sites and all day long on Election Day to fix those problems. That's what we're there for. They should not hesitate to give us a call.
And as we wrap this up, Ralph, you had another comment?
Yeah, one of the things that we do also is we have a random audit of the voting machines after Election Day. This isn't just picking one machine or two machines. I mean, we pick as many as 30 machines at random and count the paper ballots to make sure they match what the machines have, tabulators had put out as the results. And in over a decade of doing this, we have not found one discrepancy. So we're very confident in the accuracy of the tabulators and of the counts that we put out on Election Day.
How many registered voters do we have on both parties, in all parties?
630,000.
Okay, and when it breaks down for Democrats?
I don't know what the current breakdown is, but
We'll get those
It's
numbers.
about 2-to-1 Democrat to
Right, it
Republican.
still is that. What else do you want to tell people who are watching about Election Day and about early voting? We mentioned early voting starts Saturday, October 26th. We've also talked about how it actually works, but is there anything else you think that the viewers need to know about this? It's just not Election Day, right? It's an election cycle that we're talking about.
If you're not registered and you do want to participate in this fall's election, you still have up until October 26th to register to vote. You can go to any one of the early voting sites and register and cast your ballot there as well. But after Saturday, that's it. You're not going to be able to register in New York State following. So that's a very hard deadline, and we encourage anyone who hasn't registered to vote, who still wants to register to vote, to please do so. And then the only other thing that I would welcome any viewer to do is to call the Board of Elections with any question that you have. We go out of our way, Commissioner Zellner and I, even bend the rules even a bit to make sure that everyone who wants to vote is entitled to vote and gets a ballot. We've faxed ballots to truck stops down in Georgia. We've emailed ballots to military personnel overseas. We really go out of our way to make sure that everyone who wants to cast a ballot gets that opportunity.
And people should be making sure that their addresses are correct, right? And so they know exactly where to go to cast their ballot on Election Day.
yeah, and they can call us for that, or they can just go to our website. And Claudine, it's really important that we've had a number of people who've just realized they have a vacation planned for about 10 days, and it just happens to be during early voting and Election Day. And so we've had a number of folks come in, request that early vote by mail ballot, vote right at the Board of Elections now. If you happen to forget about early voting, or you just can't make it and you are going to be away on Election Day, you can come to the board on November 4th, Monday, November 4th, to request an absentee in person that day. So if there's an absolute emergency, you haven't been able to make those 9 days of early voting, and you're going to be gone on the 5th, you can still make that happen. As the Commissioner said, we really try to do everything we can to make sure everyone can make their voice heard during this election. And the only other thing I would say is it's really important to make your voice heard. And it's really important to let others know the facts about voting and know that there's resources out there. I'm sure all these links are going to be listed on your website. It's a resource. It's the official word of our county elections board that Ralph and I are elected to serve. And so they should avail themselves to all those resources, and they should let other folks know to share those official resources as well.
And that's why we're doing this on WGRZ Plus. So it's streaming so that people will be able to hear what you have to say, become educated about it. Because we also know, I know it's Pennsylvania, but it's not far away. You probably had contacts with your counterparts there. It's a different story. It's a little different down there in Pennsylvania than it is right here in New York State.
Whenever you have a very close race, the attention focuses much more on the boards and the officials that count. So,
yeah, you're right about
and we
that.
try to make sure that if and when that attention gets focused on us, that everything that we've done properly and in favor of the voter up until that point.
Ralph Mohr, Jeremy Zellner, thanks so much for being with us on WGRZ Channel 2.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for watching WGRZ Plus. Here's a list of contact numbers and other information you may need if you have questions about voting from the Erie County Board of Elections.